We're going to continue with part 2 of the business model viability, and we're going to look at a manufacturer. The gentleman's name is James, and James is a very stylish gentleman with a flair for fashion. He studied fashion design. He launched a line of fashion accessories, and predominantly the line consists of women's purses and clutches. The pieces were designed and hand sewn by James, and he's delivering both style and quality. You can't beat it. It was a great product. He formed a company, and again, this isn't he's a real person, but this is not the real name of the company. We're going to use the name J. James and Company, and for each piece he was producing, he would spend $5 to $10 in materials, and then it typically took an hour to make an individual item start to finish, and he had a retail price on it of $25 a piece. He could produce and sell about 7 per day on average, and he was very talented with a great product, but he was struggling to make enough money. Okay, you think, why is this? Well, we're going to analyze this and take a look at it just like we did in the last example. So in his business model, like we said, he's charging retail price of 25 bucks, give or take a little bit, per piece, with an average material cost of $7.50 per item, which then means his net revenue after expenses is $17.50 per item. And if you're selling 35 a week, so 7 times 5 is 35, and that gets us to gross revenue per week of $612.50. So if he produces for 48 weeks out of a year, and that gives him gross revenue of $29,400. Like we talked about in the last segment, probably 20%, if not more, of the revenue you bring in is going to go to taxes in some way, somehow. And actually with James, it's probably going to be, he's also then got to charge sales tax. That gives him annual take-home pay of about $23,520. And then we've got to calculate the weekly take-home pay, because that's just the way a lot of us correlate these things, of $490. Working 50 hours per week, sometimes more, I'm being conservative with the number here, that leaves an equivalent hourly wage of $9.80. So this isn't as bad as the last example where Patty was at $6.86. So James is at least above minimum wage, but who wants to be that talented and have what seems like a successful business? You're selling everything you can produce, but you're making less than 10 bucks an hour. No wonder he felt like he wasn't earning enough money. So I asked him, I said, James, how much do you think a person would expect to pay for a handbag that is well designed, made from quality materials, and is hand sewn? He said, well, hundreds of dollars. I said, well, I don't understand. Why aren't you charging hundreds of dollars then? Now that led to another conversation, which I'm not going to detail here, but we figured that out. Okay? And so we discussed how to revise the business model to create a profitable business. So let's take a look at that. We decided, even though he believed that somebody would expect to pay $600 to $800, he didn't want to be at the high end of what the pricing model would be for his type of product. So we agreed, we said, okay, let's price them between $285 and $345. With an average, we're just going to take the low end of it. We'll do our projections at a retail price average of $285. Now our average material cost, we said, well, if we're getting so much more revenue in for each item, you can buy even better materials and you're still going to be fine. So that's what we agreed to, and we gave an allowance of $35 of average material costs. So that means our average revenue per item is $250. Selling 30 per week. So if you remember in the previous example of what his real life scenario was, is he was selling 35 per week. And I said, well, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just let's back it down to 6 per day rather than 7. So if you're doing that 5 days a week, then Now I get a lot of business owners are working 6 or 7 days, but when you're doing something like James is doing, your fingers just get sore. So you've got to have the weekends to just physically recover. So 30 items per week, gross revenue, look at this, $7,500 per week. What an immense difference. So still, if you're working 48 weeks out of a year, look at this gross revenue now, $360,000. So gross revenue is good. That can get your attention, but it's what you keep that matters. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Now, this doesn't just poof magically happen overnight, and it doesn't happen without making some changes. So one of the big changes we made is his overhead was, other than his material cost and an allowance for his labor and some minor other expenses, his overhead was very, very low. In this scenario, to change it to where you're selling this much and at that price point, you got to do some marketing. So we really felt that he could do this with a lot of digital marketing, but we gave an allowance of $48,000 a year. So that's almost $1,000. So call it $800 per week in digital marketing. So then take out the fixed expenses. So we're taking out the cost of it, of this right here, the marketing, taking out taxes, annual take-home pay, $288,000. That's serious money. I don't care who you are. That's really good money. Now, if we calculate that into a weekly amount, that's $6,000. So if you figure if he's manufacturing 5 days a week, and he even takes all day Saturday to do the administrative stuff he needs to do, that's $1,000 a day. That's pretty awesome. Okay? So if you divide it into working 60 hours per week, that's $100 per hour. The vast majority of people that I've ever met would be super happy with that hourly wage, and he certainly was. So in the first scenario, what was James doing? He was creating value. The part he wasn't doing was capturing the value. It always comes back to this formula, whether or not you have a viable business model. So with both business models, both Patty and James created value. They didn't capture the value. We changed it to where they could then capture the value they were creating, and they had a viable business model. And all viable business model means is that it works for you, for the time that you have available and the time that you can generate revenue, to create the net income that you want for yourself. Okay? And this formula, the numbers in each one, the formula is always the same. Create value, capture value, viable business model. Okay? But the numbers that go into that are different for every single business. Okay? And that's why I had said earlier, determine how much money you want to make. Because through the business planning process, these are the things that we're going to be able to help you see for yourself. The numbers will be staring at you. You're either going to like them or you're not. If you don't like them, well, then you've got to adjust them. Then even if you do like them, then it becomes a matter of implementing it in the real world and then taking the numbers that you've projected, and as you launch the business, taking the numbers that are occurring in real life, comparing them to what you thought was going to happen, and then using that information to take advantage of business opportunities and minimize expenses. So, I know it's a lot. So please measure your plan against the success of your business model. Okay, so that's why you have to determine how much money you want to make, and can it produce the income you want for the amount of hours you want to work, and are you going to make the revenue per sale to get to where you need to be? Okay, and can you produce the total amount of sales to make it all work? Okay, and then in the next lesson is where it's going to be on the weekend, Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when you would sign into the live streaming session. Please sign in at least 5 minutes early. The link for the live streaming session is on the learning management system. We will do a brief bit of introducing you to the rest of the team here at Stewardship Small Business Academy. And then we're going to dive into the lessons. We'll begin with taking a look at the template itself, and then we'll launch into the executive summary and the rest of the whole Business Planning Binge Weekend. I'm really excited. I can't wait to share this information with you and help lead you through the path of success for your business.